In this video, I'm talking about 5 UFO conspiracy theories that'll blow your mind. It's gonna be a good one. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dan. I have Asperger's syndrome, ADHD, OCD and dyslexia. I make weekly videos, so if you're new around here and want to learn more, remember to hit that subscribe button and kick the notification bell. And also, if you're watching on Facebook, make sure to give this page a thumbs up and a follow to see daily videos from me. Okay guys, so I am actually going to be sharing information in this that I've never spoke to anybody about, and also every time I try and record this, my camera breaks. And that's the truth. Hey guys, before we get diving into this video, I just wanted to say that today's video is proudly sponsored by Above Tech iPad tablet stand, which is this thing right here. And I actually use this every single day now. They were awesome. They reached out to me and said that, you know, I could try out one of their products, which is this one I'm using right now. It's the iPad stand, and it's so good. It's very, very durable. The thing is heavy as ever, which is really, really good because you don't want your iPad falling off the table. But I use my iPad for things like live streams, and I use it to work every single day. As you guys see my live streams on Facebook and all that kind of stuff, I use my iPad for the live streaming. So having a good steady case with an extendable arm, which also has like a grip feet at the bottom of the stand, is just amazing. This thing is so adjustable, you could just like literally move it in any direction you want. I highly recommend you checking them out if you're looking for a very good quality iPad stand. This thing has definitely completed my desk and I absolutely love it. So thank you so much for this opportunity to advertise you guys in this video. So please check out the link in the description below if you want yourself a really good steady iPad stand, because I found it really difficult to find one that actually worked really well, and I only talk about products that I actually generally use and like, so please check them out. Okay, so hopefully this actually goes through and that my camera does not break when I'm talking about these conspiracy theories here about UFO conspiracies. And also I'd just like to point out that these are just theories and that I am super into this kind of thing. I basically have Asperger's syndrome, so if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's a form of autism, and with that comes hyperfocus and hyper obsessions, and one of my obsessions is conspiracy theories about UFOs. So I'm going to get stuck right in and talk about those right now. But first of all guys, every single time I upload a video, I always ask for you to ask me questions on Instagram that I can then read out in a video just like this. So if you want to get featured in a video just like this, go and hit that link to my Instagram page, give me a follow so you'll get notified when I ask you to ask me questions, so you get a chance of being in a video just like this. Okay, so the first question here is Liam D16, and they said, how do I restore energy after an intense overload? And my idea would be you need to relax, go find somewhere where you can just chill out or play a game or do something that you know that you relax with, so go and do that, and that's how I would do it. The next question is from Draco.dlm, and they said, what temperatures do you prefer to sleep in? I can't stand high heat. I cannot stand high heat. It has to be super, super cold. I get really, really hot, so I can't sleep in pajamas or anything like that. And I get really, really, really hot. So yeah, it has to be cool temperatures for me. So the last question here is from McClellan-Lanely. I don't know if I said that right, and they said, what is your favourite thing to do on the weekend? And my favourite thing to do on the weekend is to chill out, not have to worry about making videos or doing anything crazy, maybe skateboarding if the weather is doable, and just hanging out and eating good food is pretty much what I want to do. Okay guys, so let's get into this video. I'm so like pumped, like I haven't been so pumped about a video for a while. This is just scratching the surface. I'm just talking about 4 like just straight off the bat ones that I find that are just super crucial to think about here. Now, these are conspiracy theories, but there's so much evidence for these, it's ridiculous. So they are theories, but these are some of the strong ones and some of the things that I really want to talk about. But this is just scratching the surface. If you'd like to see more videos about conspiracy theories that I'm really into, like passionate about, and to make them specific about just one topic rather than going over 4 of them, let me know in the comment section below and give this video a thumbs up so I know that you guys like this type of content. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about is the Battle of LA. Now, the Battle of LA is something that took 1942 during the Second World War. The war was raging over the Pacific, and basically the Americans were guarding their territory basically because they were scared and threatened that an invasion from Japan was imminent, that the Japanese were going to come over and bomb everything, which they did do in Pearl Harbor eventually, obviously. But basically the Americans had a high alert program, so basically they do this thing like a blackout. They'd see like enemy planes flying over, and then they'd cut all the electric, and then they would then fire into the sky and shoot all these planes out of the sky. So on February the 25th, of 1942, there was a huge blackout over major parts of like LA and stuff like that. All of a sudden all the electric went out, and then people were kind of like, oh, must be an air raid going on. So they looked out the windows and they couldn't really see any airplanes, but what they did see was the sky just erupted. Like army were like shooting in the air, firing at something in the sky. Now the LA Times the day after reported with a photo of what was going on, and it seemed to be like this globe-shaped kind of ball sphere in the sky with loads of spotlights on it, and all the military just like hammering at this thing. And they hammered at it for about a good hour. They were literally just like firing rounds into this thing for an hour, and then it just disappeared. It shot off into the sky, and they don't know what it was. Obviously eyewitnesses say that it just looked like, you know, there was like a UFO, or it was some kind of craft or something, but they couldn't identify what it was. Now the army did put a report out saying that this were enemy aircraft. There was 15 aircraft in the area, but there's no eyewitnesses from people living in the area that seen any of these aircraft. The idea of like having a picture of this thing that they were firing at for like over an hour, just like laying rounds into, and it didn't even like make a mark on it, is definitely not an enemy plane from 1942, and it was photographed in the LA Times, and it was huge, it was massive. But they tried to dissolve it and get rid of it, and obviously the end of the war coming, and everyone kind of just forgot about it. It wasn't until way after the war had finished that somebody started talking about it and saying like, what on earth happened that day? There's still no clear indication of actually what went on, but a lot of people and myself would say that this may have been a UFO coming down, because what seems to happen is that UFOs come down to nuclear bases and disarm nuclear weapons, which is another video I could probably do, but this is something that normally happens. Now, in this specific case, obviously they were testing the nuclear weapon through the Manhattan Project in Nevada at the time, so I'm guessing that the UFOs came down because they saw the nuclear activity here on Earth. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is a guy called Clifford Stone. Now, Clifford Stone is a United States military agent or a military member. He has been in the military for years. His whole entire life he's spent in the military. This guy is very respected. He's a very well-rounded militant, and basically he has a very interesting job. Well, he did have a very interesting job. He was hired by the military to document alien species living here on Earth. Okay, now that sounds crazy, right? But think about this. There's a guy, McGuinness, who hacked into NASA computers, a British guy who has Asperger's syndrome, and he downloaded a list of documents called non-terrestrial officers, which were from NASA, which is crazy. And he also downloaded pictures of like cigar-shaped spaceships around the Earth. Now, this is fascinating. He was actually almost thrown in jail for that, but because he had Asperger's syndrome, they kind of like just gave him like a lifetime ban from the internet and stuff. But it backs up what Clifford Stone was saying about actually aliens living here on Earth. Now, Clifford Stone was part of something called the Disclosure Project, which we'll get into right at the end of this video. Now, Clifford Stone swore under oath and testimony to the American Congress and government, saying that what he said was real, and he had a lawyer and everything say, look, this is real, man. Like, I document 52 different types of alien species living on this planet. And one of the most interesting things that Clifford Stone said about the alien species is that he said that they were all bipedal upright humanoids. They weren't just like dinosaurs, or they weren't like just blobs that appeared out of clouds of smoke. You know, they were just like human, kind of. He actually indicated one specific type. He said that there was a type of alien, looks like a human, you wouldn't notice any difference. The only difference is that if they were in a room in the dark, they'd be able to tell you what colour objects were, because they could see colour in the dark, which is fascinating. But Clifford Stone is a phenomenal guy, and I definitely recommend you check him out. A crazy good guy. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is the Phoenix Lights. Now, this happened in 1997 on March 13th. Now, the Phoenix Lights was basically witnessed by hundreds of people across Phoenix, Arizona, where they saw a kind of triangular shaped spaceship just hovering over the space of Phoenix for a good, I don't know, half an hour, maybe 50 minutes, and everybody's seen it. It had crazy flashing lights. You know, airplanes from the military were scrambled about it. There was a huge hoo-ha. Like hundreds and hundreds of people witnessed this. Even Dan Aykroyd, famous actor with Asperger's syndrome, witnessed this event. Now, everyone's seen it, and they were just like, they didn't know what it was, but it was miles long. This thing was massive, like a huge structure floating in the air, and it was triangular, but it was like kind of a hollow, so it was kind of like two ends. Like it was just like that. It was like two beams coming out, so it was triangular, but it was hollow in the middle, and it had like no back piece, which is two beams coming off with light underneath it. Now, there was huge activity around it. There was other lights and there was other aircraft coming in to intercept it. But then the government made a statement on it saying that this wasn't a UFO, and then they made a whole slapstick thing about it. Like the mayor of like Phoenix came down, and then he did this thing where he got like an alien in a rubber mask coming out and playing, you know, silly buggers. But before that, he actually said that he'd seen it and he didn't know what it was, and he felt like it was a flying saucer, but he changed his tune after he had a visit from the government, which I found really bizarre. But the Phoenix Lights is one of those like sightings that was witnessed by so many people. It's hard to kind of then go, oh yeah, that's nothing, don't worry about it. Okay, so this next one's kind of like 2 in 1, but it's still kind of one to me. That's why we've got another one after this. Now this one is, the first part of it is the Roswell Incident. Now in 1947, on July the 5th, I think it is, an aircraft crashed in Roswell, New Mexico. Now the debris was recovered by the military. They were on site very quickly. A farmer witnessed all of this stuff. Now the first thing that came out is that everyone said that it seemed like a flying saucer had crashed in Roswell. Now this being said, there is tons of testimonies from people who worked in the military who recovered alien grey bodies, then took them to military bases. One was Area 51, and they basically had 2 dead aliens and 1 live alien, which later died, and they called them EBEs. That's what they call them in the military. They call them EBEs, the extraterrestrial bodies. Now, the EBE, which was alive and well, was taken to a facility inside Area 51, but then later died from an illness that he picked up from being on the planet, or it. I'm saying he, but it. Now, this is fascinating. It was alive for a long period of time, you know, after recovering from the crash, but the other 2 were really badly hurt. Now, this to me is very interesting. You wouldn't have that much of a detailed story if this wasn't true. Now, the government released a statement saying it was a weather balloon, and they said that a weather balloon had flown off and blah, and all this rubbish, right? Which I find just like crazy. I mean, you can't believe that. Now, that is their take on what happened. But what happens after this is very, very interesting. Now, the idea for this next one is that the aliens kind of came back to try and find their guys, and obviously some of them had died, and they weren't really sure what had happened, so they figured that it could become hostile. So the American government met with the alien greys. Okay, I know it sounds kind of crazy, but listen to it. In 1954, it's called the Edwards Agreement. Now, in Edwards Air Base, the alien greys landed and they met with President Eisenhower in the Air Force Base, and they basically made a treaty, or the Edwards Agreement. And this agreement is basically between the US government and the extraterrestrial greys, because as we know from Clifford Stone, the part about Clifford Stone, there are various different types of alien species that exist on this planet. Now, Clifford Stone documented different ones, and greys were one of them, obviously. Now, the Edwards Agreement that Eisenhower made was basically saying that the alien greys could come down and abduct humans and do experiments on them and all this stuff, as long as they didn't harm them, they returned them safe, and they could wipe their memory of the incident clear in exchange for high, huge volume technology far beyond our reach currently at that time. And this kind of backs up another theory, or an idea, where if this isn't true, then how do you explain the boom in computing, right? So let's put this in perspective. Up until about 1950, 1960, you couldn't fit in a room with a computer, because the room would have to be the entire computer. You know, it would take up like whole floors of buildings. Like, computers are massive, and that was just to do simple calculations, like just normal calculations, like adding and subtracting. Now, up until this time, we had really bad computer technology. After 1950s, what you saw was a huge increase in the types of very detailed and skilled computing, so that you could just literally fit it on your desktop. I mean, look at that, 1960s, 1970s, NASA was able to then produce computers that would fit on a table. You had like 100 years of nothing to this huge, massive computer. Then you had a couple of years, maybe 5 or 6 years, and then all of a sudden we had like, you know, computers that were crazy good and they were crazy small. Now that's very interesting, and it does back up the Edwards Agreement, but it's fascinating to think about. Okay guys, so the last one I'm going to talk about here is Dr. Steven Greer. Now, Dr. Steven Greer is a trauma doctor from America, and this one's super, super dark. Like, yeah, let's just go over it. So Dr. Steven Greer runs a company called the Disclosure Project. He actually has 2 documentaries out as well. One is called Serious Disclosure, and the other is called Unacknowledged. I think you can get both of them on Netflix, and there's 2 books that accompany them as well. Now, he set up a company called the Disclosure Project, which is about 400 people, maybe 500 people, maybe more now, strong. Clifford Stone is one of these people, and they are people who've worked in the military with or on extraterrestrial projects. like seriously, and these guys are like 100% certain about it. They swear under oath in the National Press Conference in 2001. These guys are deadly serious about what they saw or what they know. And the most fascinating thing about this is that Steven Greer basically said that there are 6 companies here on Earth that are called government black projects. So basically they're taking money from the government, and they're like military contractors that take money from the government through the military that they don't have to account for because they say it's a national interest, and they kind of got the government, you know, by the hold there. And they use this money, then create technologies and talk to communicate with extraterrestrials for these trade-offs, kind of like Eisenhower did. Now, the thing is that they control the communication, then the contact between the extraterrestrials to do whatever they want, which is scary, which is why we don't have open disclosure, because the UFOs don't know. They think they're dealing with the liaison officers of this planet, but the liaison officers of this planet are these 6 companies, and they're all evil, dark, horrible overlord companies. They also control the oil, and they control a bunch of religious bodies as well, which I'm not going to get into, but this is what Steven Greer talks about in his book. Now, you got to think, like, why would you believe Dr. Steven Greer? This is the interesting and the dark, scary part. That Dr. Steven Greer, he had a team of 4 people. It was him, I think it was his wife or his girlfriend, then I think it was his cousin, and then another guy who was just working for them who used to be in the military. Now, the guy who used to be in the military was very, very well into his top secret clearance. You know, he was top secret clearance, he had loads of stuff, and he was actually going to fund a project to help with disclosure of this information that Dr. Steven Greer was going to put out. Now, he decided to you know, donate like $4 million to the project and help disclosure project get off the ground, etc., etc. Now, he was then mysteriously found dead in the Hudson River in a boat that he owned, and it was in the middle of the night and it was raining terrible. His wife said that when she came home, the door was open, like, you know, the tea was on, there was food half eaten. It was like, you know, somebody had just like taken him out of the house. Wasn't if he'd gone like, oh, you know, it's middle of the night, it's pouring down rain, and I'm going to take my small boat out to the Hudson River and go out for a spin. Like, it doesn't happen, you know. So he was found dead. Now, after his funeral, Dr. Steven Greer, his wife, and his cousin, I think it was, but I may be quite wrong on the relationship, but those 3 people that were involved in the rest of the group, they all came down with a vicious melanoma cancer. Now, 2 people died from it, so his wife and the other guy, they died from it, but Dr. Steven Greer was able to overcome the cancer and really kind of rehabilitate himself, and now he's stronger than ever. Now, why would you think this is true? There's 2 reasons why. One is that Steven Greer exists on what's called a dead man's trigger. That basically means he's got information out there into media outlets that will go live if anything happens to him that's untoward. And the other thing is that you don't go out and talk about conspiracies like this and then most of your team die. That's not a coincidence. But I don't know, guys. Look, this is all just speculation, and this is all just stuff that's going on. I mean, like, it could be crazy, it could be a crazy coincidence, but I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Let me know if you've got any juicy gossip or anything to add to this, or you know about what I'm talking about. I'd love to have this conversation with you guys. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, let me know. Again, guys, if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button and let me know how you thought about this video in the comments. Give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time, guys. Peace.